popcorn where I start the discussion.
Want to know some more fun facts?
Isn't it awesome to see some of your favorite content creators and favorite people, honestly, if you follow here on this app, be a part of this amazing community called the Nerd Initiative.
The Nerd Initiative presents the Comic Press Podcast, hosted by JJ's Comic Stuff.
There we go.
Aha, that's the smoothest I've done it, and that's saying something. What's going on, everybody? This is Jeremy, aka JJ's Comic Stuff, here with the Comic Press Podcast. I have got my guest co-host is back, Michael Rothman. He was gone for a little while, but he is back now. And then, yeah, it was a while, man. I kind of missed you. But we've got a very special guest today. We've got Zach Howard from, you name a publisher, this guy has worked for it. He's been nominated for Eisner Awards. He's won Indie Awards. He's worked on Hellboy, Wild Blue Yonder, Shaun of the Dead. And I could keep going on. What is going on, Mr. Zach Howard?
Not much at all. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. Yeah, I have worked on pretty much one or two of everything. So,
I was going to say in my research, man, making sure I had all my facts and stuff. I'm like, dang, he has really worked for everybody and done a little bit of every character.
Yeah, I guess that's a testament to my so, you know, things all the time. So, I don't know. It gets, Of course, I had a weird alert on my thing. I've never used this platform before, by the way. So, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. There's some weird delay. I apologize, everyone. But, yeah, 23 years, I've done damn near everything. Started in the RPG manual gaming industry, and then got Hellboy, the resource manual, and then had a 20-something year career in comics. So now I'm back to doing a creator-owned series.
That's awesome, man. So the first thing we like to get out of the way at the beginning, what is your nerd origin story, man? How did you originally get into this madness that is the comic book world?
So I grew up kind of all over the world. I was an Army brat. My father was a combat engineer. So I grew up, I guess, in my younger years in Germany, a place called Karlsruhe, along the Rhine River in the Black Forest. Anyways, you're in this, it was a crazy little town. I mean, you could walk to the castle, and it was this giant castle. And I lived down the road from that on a little dinky army base, and you're just kind of in this cloistered community without a lot of pop culture or anything really, other than this benign army base. So the only thing I could get, all the kids played D&D, so I always did, saw the D&D manuals and stuff like that, and always tried to draw the dragons and monsters, etc. But for comic books, precisely, it was the only thing I could get at the shopette on the military base were the European editions of Conan the magazine, which were these big giant things with several stories in it, like a John Buscema and several. That was my favorite. And 2000 AD, so you got things like Judge Dredd and stuff like that. But it was mostly just Conan all the time, 24/7. I'd stare at that thing, read them, and that just kind of infected me. Eventually, when I got older, I moved to Hawaii, and you could get normal American comic books a few days later than everybody else, and that's when I started really dorking out, because that was the time when like Todd McFarlane took over Spider-Man, Mark Silvestri was just lighting X-Men on fire, and so it was an exciting time to get into comic books in the I don't know, 87-ish or so, and then I dorked out pretty much till now, and it's kind of gone through spectrums and understanding, from being on a fan as a kid all the way to an old salty vet like myself.
It's crazy. You mentioned Todd McFarlane. Like, what were some of your? I mean, obviously, everyone with a creative outlet always kind of has influences. Like, who are some of your other influences that kind of you carried on to put into your own, put your own stamp on it? Were there other artists that really kind of you take a little bit from them, from your childhood, and seeing them and really kind of, feeling their vibe, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like with Todd McFarlane and that crew, of course, that lit my younger formative years up. With that crazy Spider-Man work that then he went to his own title, blah blah blah. And of course, I tried to emulate him as a kid. But as I got older, those early like heavy influences like Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee migrated, I would say, more to the very first Sin City era, kind of Frank Miller and Mignola, and I was starting to get into the European comics again, like Mobius. And so fairly early on, I was starting to get very indie in my influences. And by the time, long story short, I never went to, I failed out of college my first year. I went to the Marines, and then I went to college afterwards, but I couldn't get any drawing classes. And next thing I know, I'm a sculptor and a ceramicist, and that's how I kind of made money in college, and made quite a bit, actually. And it was my thesis year. I'd kind of gotten out of comic books, not completely. My roommate would buy them, and I'd read Preacher every week, but I wasn't really hugely into it. I was playing sports for a school, and I was just busy all the time. And anyways, my thesis year of college, I was getting, finalizing being a sculptor for the rest of my life. I had to take an illustration class, and to get my to wrap up the thesis, my very final semester of college, and the professor just happened to draw, I guess, a year or so before, an Aliens versus Predator comic book. So let me close this out. Sorry about the beeps and boops.
No, dude. That's the beauty of live broadcasting, man.
Yes.
It's real. It's raw, dude.
A lot of raw with me, or that's not even good to say either. So, anyhow, he took a shine to me. His name was Tom Biondolillo, and he was never a prolific artist. He did a few things here and there, but that just lit my I was like, holy cow! I never met somebody who had made a comic book, or what step one was to getting into comics, or how they were made, or what tools they used. So I had, of course, a whole bunch of dorky illustrations for his class, and he dragged me to MegaCon in the year 2000, and I had an actually very successful show. A lot of people showed interest, at least, and I enjoyed the community. So I asked my future wife if she minded if I'd be unemployed for a few years. And I mailed off all these packets. Back then, you mailed things to companies. Only 2 companies responded, and one of them was Steve Jackson Games, and they let me draw like little illustrations for RPG manuals. So that's all I did for like 2.5 years, but it sucked. I was making like $8,000 a year. It was embarrassing. Me and the paper boy were neck and neck who was going to out earn each other. And suddenly Steve Jackson Games got the rights to the Hellboy role-playing game. And I was like one of 2 people in the company that were interested in comic books. So I was fortunate enough, Mignola approved me and a guy named Peter Bergting to draw the manual. We did that, and that just immediately launched my comic book career. A book I was kind of working on the side was picked up by Image, and then I did a book with Jim Kruger, and that eventually led to doing detective comics within 4 years. I did that for, I don't know, Vertigo and DC for about a year and a half, about a year. And I wasn't very happy. Nothing wrong with how just the factory system, everybody, you just kind of, you're chunking it out. And I think my muse and me demanded to be more of a storyteller and something, that I can control at least a little bit. So I left. And I was fortunate enough to get Shaun of the Dead, my very next book. And that did pretty well, and was in print for 14 years, and
Wow.
people, things like that. And that kind of launched me indie. And then I went back to Marvel, or I guess my first time to Marvel. And then I did Aliens for Dark Horse. And then I was kind of disillusioned again. I was going to go to film school. I promised Chris Ryle I'd do one more book. And that ended up being The Cape with Joe Hill, which ended up being more famous than more popular than I still get royalty checks for that book. And that's 13 years later.
Wow.
It's and fingers crossed with the Black Phone doing so well for Joe Hill. Hopefully we're next on the docket for movie treatment. But so then I went back and I was like, well, I had enough confidence to do creator owned again. And I did a book called Wild Blue Yonder, which was, no pun intended, wildly successful. And that paid my bills for about 6 years. Intel bought it. We did tech. We did an animated thing that was released to Rapple, blah, blah, blah. More Cape. I don't know, odds and ends. I've done Venom covers in between. I did a cover run on Justice League for like 13 months. And then again, I'm kind of bored. I sold my company and didn't know what I was going to do. And serendipity, Mike Mignola calls me up and wants me to draw the sequel to The Crooked Man because Corbin couldn't draw anymore. And, that's a scary, scary task. But I took that on, and COVID hit during the middle of it. And I don't know, just kind of after Hellboy, I had to figure out what I was going to do. And that led me to the nonsense that I'm doing now. Ending up on your podcast talking about a moonshining cryptid.
Yeah, Moonshine Bigfoot, man. The premise for this alone, when I first got an email about this, I was like, I definitely want to talk about this. Like, it's just such a weird idea that I loved the concept right off rip. And if you guys need sold on this before we get into the book real quick, I do have the trailer ready to pull up. So let's play that real quick.
I bet you've heard a lot of tales about Bigfoot. Well, now it's time to set the record straight. Because we do things a little different here in Buzzard County. In this here story, the heroes are outlaws with hearts of gold and tanks of gas. These fellas might seem reputable, but they're bona fide retrobates. Sheriff's crooked as a dog's leg. Walter ain't bad. And the rest of these folks, well, hell. They're as weird as they come. Moonshine Bigfoot, the greatest cryptozoological action-adventure comedy of all time.
If that doesn't get you excited for a comic book, I don't know what will.
We're pretty proud of it. We teamed up with an animation studio. An Australian voice actor actually did the Wayland's Jennings narration. And,
that's great, man.
I was going to ask, is that like someone like you or one of your friends? But it seems like it was a voiceover actor, which is
an actual VO person. I'm usually tasked with that type of crap, which I hate, but I have this goonishly deep troll voice, so I usually get the narration stuff. But fortunately, we had a professional on staff that could do it better than I could by a long way. So I lucked out.
Well, you should take it as I think it's a compliment. I think it just goes to show your range about, like, again, like you clearly with your background, it's funny sculpting and then even like starting a business, like you have a lot of tools in the toolkit. So, when I've been
around, I've been horning up for a good 23 years now. So I've seen everybody and everything. But to that point, yes, I'm running the crew now, and we got a phenomenal crew, and we got a good infrastructure, good management company. All we need is a little bit of funding, and we'll see how far we can take this image series. We already got a sequel plan called Canada Ball Run, by the way, where he's he has to do some illegal maple syrup runs.
I love it.
Come on.
And but first things first, this is his origin story and basically his coming of age story, told in a very nostalgic and satirical way of that era of television, cinema, and pop culture Americana of the year 1980. So we pull a lot of our influences and our kind of love letter that we're writing to the fun and ridiculousness of the era of that pop culture. The first influence of Japanese animation like Speed Racer and G-Force were hitting.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Dukes of Hazzard, and back then when you watched it when I was an 8-year-old or 7, 8 years old, when that was come 7, holy crap, I'm old. It was just really fun. It didn't come with the weight of what the Dixie flag meant and all the terrible stuff, that social weight that comes with things now when you're watching television. As the world advances and we're learning to be nicer to each other, it can terribly pollute some art that came before us, whether good, bad. It's hard to see it without that pollution attached to it. So what we're trying to do with this is pull the fun out of all those things and create a story that's a fun satirical kind of love letter to that era of Americana, without bringing guilt and every geopolitical struggles. You can just enjoy it. And while doing that, I think we're good enough storytellers. We have about 75 years experience between the art crew within comics and other media. We got Steve Ellis, who's been doing this longer than me. He used to draw Lobo and now is one of the most famous Magic the Gathering painters in the world. Mike Marlowe's a screenwriter and theatrical actor here locally that we became pretty good friends. This is going to be his first comic book scripting, and that's why I'm co-writing. But he's blown it out of the park. He's a phenomenal comic nerd and comedy debater. He does wonderful stuff. People that know me know Claire Meath. She was my assistant, now studio mate. She's running the show. She's basically the showrunner for us. Nelson Daniel, who has more Eisner nominations than anyone I ever met, including 2 books that we've done together. He's just the best painter I know on earth. And Thompson Knox is the letterer and designer that did Wild Blue Yonder. So, I mean, we got an all-star team, and we're doing a comedy, which I haven't done in 15 years. Sean Murphy and I did one called Outer Orbit for Dark Horse that did fairly well. And that's what kind of inspired me to do a comic again, because it was we were in negotiations for a bit for somebody buying the license for, oddly enough, a book that we did 15 years ago, 17 years ago. But it inspired me because I was like, man, that was the last book I really had fun doing. Mm-hmm. Not that other things aren't gratifying, and they're amazing feeling when you finish a Hellboy book, but they're arduous. There's a lot of pressure and stuff. Where I remember while making Outer Orbit, we never stopped laughing. All we were is editing jokes out so we could actually tell a story. And that's a fun feeling. And this is the first time I've had since then that it felt like that. You gotta, and that's what we are. I think what separates, 2 things. I think, I'm sorry for my blathering.
But it's great. It's great.
So, it's a podcast, man. If you don't talk, we don't have a show.
Well, there we go. Yeah, it's better than snoring. I really, comic books, there's a lot of phenomenal things happening in comic books talent-wise in a lot of different directions. The medium's amazing in that, and it's really fun time because it's kind of the Wild West. There's multiple ways to disseminate it, from social media to digital comics to motion animation to traditional comics, hard copies. It's difficult in some areas. Some might evaporate, and it's scary times because we don't know where it's going. Comics will always be around, but who knows where it's going. But one thing that bugs me is it's like 70s cinema. Like everything is Deer Hunter now. Everything is so stoic and sad and heavy. And we need those stories, but not everybody's Alan Moore. So you're just getting a lot of the same crap, just a retread tire, and it's all just suffocating. I think there's room, a Grand Canyon-sized chasm hole that comedy can fill. There's just no breath of fresh air, or there seldom is. And if there is, it's seldom done at the level, I think, of art and talent that we're going to bring. We're going to curl your toes. I mean, Nelson Daniel and I are pretty known together. And with Steve Ellis on here and his amazing cartooning ability, we've created this kind of weird Led Zeppelin of music where we're all bringing this really potent style, but harmonizing it together. So we got the plasticity and fun bounciness of Steve Ellis characters with my super heavy rendering and weight of character and things like that. And then you got Nelson's one-of-a-kind painting on top of it. But all that is on a nice package where it's not just shtick comedy. We're telling not a profound, but an endearing coming-of-age story, which are always my favorites. This is just done in an absurdist world. And how we did that to ground the story. So I think even comedies are more fun when the characters are endearing. Think Ghostbusters. If you just have a shtick comedy, you don't care if the characters live, die, fall off a cliff. But in Ghostbusters, although you're rooting for them to get in ridiculous situations, you're rooting for them to win the day in the end. You actually feel involved with the character. You want them to win. And that's what we're trying to do with this, is have an endearing story, because we think the comedy will be more lasting and affecting to you in the end. Because if you can tell a story while making somebody laugh, I think you have their attention more. And I think in the end, it sticks with, there's a better feeling when they're done. It's almost like they're lighter. They're glad they took this ride with you. As opposed to watching some movies where they just punch you in the gut at the end and leave. And it's like, that's good sometimes, but I don't want to watch Saving Private Ryan every week.
Right.
It's just like, my gosh, so that's our goal. And I think we're pulling it off pretty well. As that trailer shows, we're putting a lot of juice into it, man, and a lot of thought. This isn't just a Dukes of Hazzard satire. That was just our originally bitch fest that initiated this whole idea of having Bigfoot drive the next Dukes of Hazzard movie, and that evolved into our Alice in Wonderland kind of universe that we built here. And to make it work, Bigfoot's the skeptic in it, so he doesn't believe anything. He's Scully from X-Files. It's like, I don't know, except Southern Good Old Boy style. I don't know, Earl, that don't sound right. Just like, I don't think that's how it is. But, and so we have brilliant characters. We're parodying old tropes. We're bringing in completely new ideas. It's just a lot of fun. He has a loving relationship with his hippie girlfriend that's a lot deeper than it comes off. Yeah, Amethyst. I'm actually more proud of her than any other character that we came up with. But you'll have to read the story to get it. Though I will tell you about her. She is new 1981 New Age hippie, totally in love with Bigfoot. They have a great relationship. How she makes a living, though, is she sells pictures of her feet in the back of catalogs and stuff like that. She's a foot model, and she's very proud of that she's an independent woman. But for she's got
beautiful feet. She's got beautiful feet.
They are, I must say. Objectively can say that. They're pretty cool. She has cool flip-flops too. But regardless, she was blessing her sweaty socks to sell in the wicked moonlight in a harvest moon one night. and she dropped her bag of psilocybin mushrooms on Moonshine Bigfoot's still. Unbeknownst to him, all the mushrooms grew and they infused with the moonshine. And now it has a special property that he didn't know was going to happen. And that is anybody who drinks the moonshine instantly sees the light or sees through propaganda, like They Live glasses from John Carpenter's movie.
Yeah.
So you can see through government conspiracies, everything like that. A senator has a drink somewhere, in the South, and goes on television on a big rant about the conspiracy of the United States and the government world conspiracies, and this gets the Illuminati involved, or at least our version of the Illuminati, and now they're going after Bigfoot. We have ABFAC, which is our Bigfoot hunters. There's Thaddeus, so he's the leader of Big Level, is what our Illuminati is called, and he's the heir apparent, and his the shoes don't quite fit, and we have a lot of fun with this character, and he has more money and wherewithal, or than wherewithal. This is the ABFAC, American Bigfoot, Aliens, and Cryptid Hunters. There are menagerie of guys that witnessed Bigfoot or an alien at one point in time, and they're in this club, and they're all messed up in some way, and are highly dysfunctional but highly motivated to find Bigfoot. And Bigfoot messes with them. He hires a local kid to put on Bigfoot feet and pays him in Slim Jims to walk around the forest. And just Bigfoot has fun. He's a good old boy. He's going to have fun while he evades all these idiots. So
tell us about Mr. Pineapple real quick.
Oh, Uncle Pineapple, yes.
Uncle Pineapple.
Yeah, he's our disgraced former child show star from the 70s, or probably late 60s, 70s. And he has a talking British vulture parrot. Well, nowadays, he is a blathering drunk and can't even form sentences. And the bird runs the black market. But our joke is, how when ventriloquists are they drink water while the puppet's talking and stuff, we have them literally barfing everywhere while the bird's talking in proper London English and stuff like that, like Royal English. And there's a million things like this. And he runs the black market and the speakeasy, which in our Kickstarter, we allowed people to be part of the speakeasy. You can appear in our comic, like in the background as one of the patrons drinking with Bigfoot. But also we made a speaking role, and we were stunned we didn't think anybody would take it, and it's sold in 3 minutes, or was backed in 3 minutes. It's a speaking role where they get to be the bartender in the series.
That's awesome.
And stuff like that. We're trying to have fun and involve the crowd and, the fans and stuff like that. So it's a wild world. Bigfoot has to find a way to beat Big Level. It's easy outrunning the local buffoon sheriff, but the Illuminati with an unlimited budget and a bone to pick with them is going to be pretty tough, we think.
And then real quick, I got to point out this cover art you sent me the other day, man. Now, is this going to be the cover A for it?
Cover B, actually.
Cover B, okay.
Yeah, I'll show you cover A here. I can pull it over real quick. But yeah, this is our poster. We wanted a 80s movie style poster. So bottom middle is where the logo's going. There'll be kind of movie credits underneath it. It's being colored right now. It should be back from Nelson any day. That actually already sold on our Kickstarter, but the next cover is still available, which I will start inking Sunday, and I'm going to show you it right here. If you can get over here.
Blow you up real quick.
I love seeing the creative process. This is dope.
There we go. So if you can see it, we're doing an homage to Speed Racer.
Yes.
So there he is in front of his car, but I'm working over Steve's pencils right now, polishing them up, getting them ready for inks. So that is going to be cover A, if I can get this back here. Haha, I did it.
So I got to ask, though, as an 80s fan, is there a little bit of a Kurt Russell influence in the... I
guess the swagger. We were more going for a straight blend of Burt Reynolds meets the Good Old Boys, kind of like a Bo Luke meets Burt Reynolds. But I can definitely see that swagger of Big Trouble in Little China.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Exactly what I was thinking.
I wasn't thinking that, but it's of that era, where you have your overconfident, not quite capable, though Bigfoot's a little more capable than you think, or his confidence is a little earned, but a little unearned. He's going to learn as well. But yeah, it's of that era when movies were a little bit fun. The movie posters were more fun. You could get in and get out, and it was a complete event, and you felt finished, and you didn't have to commit half your life and 17 weekends to getting through it just to get to season 4 when they bring a baby to the cast and ruins the show or something, and it's like, I watched all that for nothing. Where they change an actor with a character, and you're like, great. I don't know. I'm glad you said that, because that is literally the feel we're going for. So, fun adventure, and if you tell it with endearing characters, I think that's the multiplier. It becomes very potent then, and then it's just not shtick where you're a voyeur just watching. Okay, is hand getting chopped off? Okay, you're just this dead voyeur. Kind of benignly watching something or reading something. We want you to be emotionally invested in it, as much as possible. Yes, this is the beginning of the story, or homage to Superman's origin. So
that's great.
Our Portland.
So you said heartwarming, and I was like, "Oh, that is perfect segue to pull this up."
Yeah. Well said. Or I'm glad you did, and thank you. So the Pacific Northwest forest is burning down. Bigfoot parents, in the nick of time, are able to do a bundle baby Bigfoot and stuff him in the back of a logging truck that just narrowly escapes the forest fire. He travels the United States, picking his nose and eating chips, and hits a bump on the southern Alabama-Louisiana border, and baby Bigfoot falls out, and he's found by a kindly childless moonshining couple that raise him as their own, and the locals mostly just treat him as a big hairy kid, not Bigfoot. So and he takes over the business, but gets into hot rods, and like any proper Southern 25-year-old, and helps him get away from the cops so he can deliver his family's moonshine to Uncle Pineapple's speakeasy. So that's our basic homage to the Dukes of Hazzard part of it. And there's Amethyst right there in the middle of the chase. She has to get her feet
I was
ready.
just about to say, like mid-chase, jumping over a cliff, she's painting her nails.
She's a businesswoman. You got to get your work done. So, and as you see, we're not bringing chump change with the artwork. We're bringing 100% of our talent. Like I said, we got some heavyweights on this, and I want people to feel rewarded with this. This isn't just low level. When you usually see comedies, it's not as good at artwork. It's a lot of cartooning and kind of strip like art, comic strip type art, or something kind of in between. We're trying to bring a really fleshed out. I mean, the same level of oomph I'd put in Hellboy and Wild Blue Yonder. This is what I'm doing for Moonshine Bigfoot as well.
What is it like? I mean, again, like it seems like the cast and crew of all the moving parts it seems like you guys are having a blast. How is that? Like, how does that all come together? Like I think it's interesting, and I love the creative process, and I love your journey. All the turns you've gone through in your career and experiences you've had. You obviously are connected to so many iconic and talented people. What's it like kind of putting the crew together for something like this, and like the first call you got to make, and then slotting people in the what's all that like of bringing the team together? Because that's got to be a blast. It almost feels like the beginning of an Ocean's 11 movie or something.
It kind of is. but more stressful, and involves sad, ugly comic book people. But it's something I kind of learned to do while I was working with Noble Transmission, my entertainment company, with several other creators that we did Wild Blue through. My book with Common, which was called Caster, it was for Webtoons, and with Robert Glasper did the music for it. I had kind of learned how to be a showrunner, because that was I was kind of always the creative consultant and co-creator of stories, blah blah blah, pseudo editor, and it just kind of evolved into I ran the creative crews for whatever project we were doing for the company. So after I sold that company, or at least my stake in it, and after I did Hellboy, I think I was ready. I at least had the skill set to know how to put a crew together, and also one that fits together. It's like putting a band together. It doesn't matter how good the musicians are. If they can't play together, you're not going to get good music. It doesn't matter if they're all super talented. So Mike Marlowe and I came up with it. He's the writer. He worked for me for my CBD company. We're coming back from a Vegas convention, driving through the mountains one night, trying to keep each other awake, bitching about, movie remakes and how just grossly benign remakes are. And they just try to, rather than, they're just trying to, I don't even know what it is. It's like this cowardly attempt to just try and cash in on the fan base, rather than try and capture the spirit of what made that, IP magical in the first place, and create something new with it. When Jimi Hendrix did All Along the Watchtower, he didn't play it as Bob Dylan. He played it as Jimi F. and Hendrix. So you got to learn, one, you need that skill set to be able to do that. But if you do, the impetus is on you to retread it with new art, to revitalize, to squeeze it through the portal of you into a whole new piece of artwork that still retains the soul or the magic of the first piece. Not always easy, but it seems like no one ever wants to even attempt to do that. Obviously, money on the line, time, blah, 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 and capabilities. But so I was just bitching, if you're going to make Dukes of Hazzard 7, make it interesting, have Bigfoot driving them, the damn car. And that kind of, within 6 months, us joking around, we kind of came up with the basics for this story. Well, last year I did AfricaCon with a crew of amazingly talented artists. We were there for 2 weeks, so we all became kind of close. However, Steve Ellis, one of the fellow comic book artists, he's done young adult stuff, but he hasn't done any normal industry, I don't even know what to say, a traditional, whether indie or mainstream comics in a while. And he was itching to do, stuff that isn't young adult again. And that just stuck with me. So I knew if I did this myself, penciled and inked it, like I do most of my books, I don't know if it would have the right tone, because I'm really heavy-handed. I can do fun animated stuff, but it's arduous for me. Whereas if I got somebody like Steve Ellis, who's already an accomplished cartoonist in his work and a good storyteller, maybe we could create a fun style together. So he did a couple sketches. I inked over it, and that's what you see for the first the Moonshine Bigfoot concept art. That's literally the first drawings that we did together. And they just right away were popping. And again, I put this hyper rendered style wrap it around this fun cartoony, builds that he has for these characters. And Nelson then fleshes it out with color. And it just creates this really fun, sublime style, I think. And so we just all agreed, let's go grab our ankles and jump in. And now we're desperately trying to pay for the damn thing, because once I got the concept art done, I sent it to my contact at Image, and they didn't buy it. They signed the damn thing right away. So now we're committed to make the damn thing, but we're proud. It's 100 pages, 4 issues, and that's what we're trying to fund with our Kickstarters, just so the more money we can get, the more full time we can work on this. And a lot of people don't realize that. I'm not getting a dime from Image. We have to do this ourselves, and we got a crew of 5 people. And we're being humble about it and pulling our belts tight. But the Kickstarter is a giant boon for us, and just getting a little bit in the coffers. One, good PR, people get exposed to it, like that trailer and the artwork. And hopefully, hey, thank you. And
I'll pop it back up so it's not covering your face. Usually that kind of pushes your
Just
screen
put the
up.
square here.
I think he's okay with it. I hope I'll keep it back up longer than that. Yeah.
So I really hope people will give us a chance in the Kickstarter, and to for me to expand on that. I think it's really important for me to state we understand that you're taking a chance on us. And although we tried to make it fun, there's deals. There's the cheapest way to possibly ever buy original art from me. You can get, and you can pick out the damn pages you want. We got 100 of them. So we're trying to make it fun for everybody. Covers, we got awesome merch. But most importantly, I understand that you're taking a chance on us in Kickstarter, and I humbly ask for your money, but that's not the only thing. I want to show that we're going to repay it. So since we have such an awesome big library between all the artists on this, we already hit our first 4 stretch goals. Very fortunate. We could use a few more shekels. So again, we don't have to work on backup Prince of Power annuals and all these old crappy jobs I used to do, but we'll do whatever we have to do to make it work. But the more funding we can get for this, the more we can pay the whole crew as human beings and be able to pay our mortgages for a few months while we do this. However, I digress. You're taking a chance on us. So each stretch goal, we had books that you get for free. Any backer at any level, even $1 to the $7 digital, whatever level of backing you do for this project, we're up to 13 books now. You get immediately upon the end of the campaign. And they're not chump books. We try to do good things. You already get my most famous sketchbook called my cover process sketchbook, 100% out of print now. You get that. That's 60-something pages, and that's 16 years of my career. Some of my most famous covers, from TMNT to Venom to Judge Dredd, and you get my thought process of, like, from thumbnails on I was. And it's out of print now, so you get that. Yeah. You get all 4 of my studio mate Claire Meese sold out sketchbooks. She's about as popular as a human being gets on Instagram. She has 100,000 followers. It's obscene. Where I think I got like 27 followers. She just had a popular book come out through CEX called Mother 47. Regardless, her sketchbooks, she does an annual sketchbook. They're 100% sold out. So you get the first 4 volumes of that are 100% out of print. You get Groom Lake by Ben Templesmith. You get High Moon, the entire graphic novel, first volume by Steve Ellis, which was a DC book that's out of print. And let's see, you get the Blacklist Underground podcast that I did with Dan Panosian, Jeff John, all these killer artists. Wow. You get that sketchbook, which is you couldn't even get outside of our Patreon back in the day. Or if you see me at a con, and I've had a few copies. So that's basically out of print. What's the other one? Our last goal, we got Ashley Wood book called String Divers is out. So and on top of that, we brought in our animation studio, threw in their 3 American kaiju books for kaiju fans. So we're trying to get a spectrum, but also we're trying to give you quality. We're not just giving you crap. So even if you don't like our Moonshine Bigfoot miniseries coming out through Image, you have 13 damn books to choose from, no matter the backing. No matter the backing. Every single backer gets this at the end. So we're trying to, we're
see, I didn't even know that, and I backed for $7.
Well, there you go. You're an owner of 13. So that's 17 books you get for backing.
Dude, you can't beat that for $7.
And that's, again, we're trying to show we really believe in this book. I absolutely guarantee you we're going to curl your toes with it. It is so funny. It is so good. The art is so beautiful. Whatever you're into, I think we cover, the bases. I'm sure it's not for everyone, but I think anyone who likes to laugh, we got something for you. Anybody who likes good comic book art, sequential storytelling, we got something for you. Those that just, I guess, like staring into Bigfoot's chest muscles, we got something for you. Those that are into good musical taste, guess what? So is Bigfoot. So we got everything. You like evading the cops? So does Bigfoot. So we're trying to give back. On top of this, at C2E2, we started this. The whole crew did the St. Jude's drink and draw for charity, and it went so well. We were doing like little Bigfoot drawings for everybody, among other things, Wolverine, whatever the hell.
We almost have walked right past you, man.
You probably did. Thanks. But
I'm so disappointed now. Like, this is just,
right.
Yeah. But that inspired us. At the end of this, we're going to give a portion back to St. Jude's. We want to show that we understand this isn't just some crap we're trying to make a buck off of. We're trying to be able to fund our series, and we appreciate anyone willing to take a chance on us. We can guarantee all day, and I absolutely guarantee we're not going to let you down. Neither is Steve. We're pros. We have a legacy of hundreds and hundreds of books of high quality, legacy of, Harveys, Eisners, all these other weird awards, the indie awards that you get, all this stuff like that. We're going to bring the fire. If you give us, just take a chance on us, just give us a chance. We're going to reward that. And that's with the books. And we're trying to come up with our next stretch goal, which will be more books. But we weren't expecting to get through these 4 so quickly. So, but there'll be more to come. And we have merch now. We have beard coasters, T-shirts. Our coffee mug just mock-up is happening right now. So you can have a merch.
I'm going to need one of those.
I already ordered mine. So as the prototype, it's too damn cool. And we got keychains, which oddly are selling well. So I think we got something for everybody. And man, can I blather, huh?
No, I love it. I mean, like, look, we're actually in the process of like redoing our website, which is cool. And in that, we're gonna have a new section with like products we love. Like a section of like podcasts we love. Like, the whole platform is about supporting and uplifting,
Wonderful
people. And so, yeah, we got to get all that stuff on there. That's awesome. The whole idea, is to bring in, all kinds of like, not only people and talent from out there, but also products and things like that we love, and get people, get it in front of people. So this is, I think it's amazing. It's awesome. And I love the energy you bring, and like the stories you tell are like, this is why we do what we do. It's just a blast to kind of, sit
it's
and
a peek inside people's brains that make the nerdy stuff that we like to consume. So we don't get that very often.
Well, honored you guys would even, take a chance on me. I am.
We're just glad you came on the show, man. Shoot.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. We got 7 more days of funding, so I just appreciate you guys, or the campaign rather, 7 days. I just thank you so much for doing this for me. Like I said, I don't know what else to say. We're bringing the fire. Image got behind it. We're now Kickstarters behind it. The last 2 weeks, we got the projects we love banner from them, or badge. So they're now promoting it. I'd invite everybody to just give us a chance, because like you've seen, by the way, I got my own hip hop rap song from my friend Damon Smith. I posted it on social. Holy shit. So it's interesting to see how some of these people some people just gravitate to it right away. And we saw and felt it at C2E2 as well. So I think we got something here. I think it's fun. And I think comic book fans deserve a little long overdue, much deserved fun.
Yeah.
100%. So I was going to ask you if you had time for a couple of fan questions, or listener questions.
Let's
rather.
do it.
And the funny thing is, you've answered them all.
Oh,
I only had 2 get submitted this time, and you've already gone ahead and talked through what they asked. So
should I expand on anything?
I mean, if you want to. We've got Nerd Tween from TikTok asks, what was the hardest part about getting your book published?
This book, Nowadays, it's a little easier. I'm very fortunate. I've made a few people some bags of money over my career. So, I mean, hell, my first editor in comic books now runs Image Comics. You know,
Oh wow.
Chris
Okay, there
Ryle,
you
who
go.
I drew his very first comic book, runs Syzygy. He used to run IDW. Mike Kennedy is my buddy, runs Magnetic Press. Andy Schmidt, my old G.I. Joe editor, runs CEX. So if you build your legacy and don't burn bridges and you make people happy, they'll usually, you don't abuse it, obviously. You never abuse, your friendship that way. But when you have something, you can send it to them. And in this instance, I sent it to Chris Ryle. Next thing I knew, it was a done deal. So now I'm forced to fund the darn thing rather than just have an idea. So, but we're already going on it without money. So with a little bit of money, we'll be able to burn rubber.
100%.
Pun
And then the
I was going to
last
say, I
one
like
that
that
got
pun
submitted.
intended too. We'll burn
Yeah.
rubber.
Antisocial Filter on TikTok wants to know what image books, if any, will interconnect with Moonshine Bigfoot, and if the creators or are told beforehand who to collaborate with.
Well, it's not out of the possibility. I have a lot of friends at Image, a lot of friends that do books at Image. So you never know. If Kirkman wanted to have something, yeah, I'm sure we can work it out. If Ryan Otley needed something worked in there, of course. Buddy from back in the day, and obviously he comes as a home run hitter like extraordinaire. So there are, and countless other names that I couldn't possibly even think of or remember. A lot of my buddies work at Image or have potent properties there. So of course I'd be open to that after we get this initial arc. And like I said, it's starting to write itself. So we have Cannonball Run for the next one. He's going to basically end up traveling the world, being a kindly moonshiner with a heart of gold for whatever we can think of, while he's meeting other messed up cryptids around the universe. So who knows where that will lead him. As far as collaborations go at Image, most people own their own IP. So it's like person X, a popular book, or A, and person Y with popular book B, they just say, hey, let's have our characters have a beer together in this next book. That's literally all that happens.
So there's no like big office back and forth trying
it depends. There's a few big offices that satellite Image outside of Image. Think of Top Cow or Kirkman's company. So within Kirkman's company, they can cross-pollinate. He owns everything, so he can just tell, hey, dude, put this in book over here, and we need to weave in some Walking Dead stuff there. And he doesn't even need a reason. He could just be on a peyote trip. It wouldn't even matter. Doesn't need a lawyer in that one. But if it's two separate IP with different creators, Image doesn't own anything. Really, they're a nonprofit company, just a publishing house. So they basically make a deal with the creators, and this is the basic Image deal. We'll publish your book. Every issue you pay X, and it's a very affordable wage. And then everything after that, you get the money. It's after they take their cut, it's a nonprofit company. How the model, it might be a little more nuanced than that nowadays. But
that's fascinating. I never knew that.
So
that's really fascinating.
It does not work like, say, Marvel. Here, I'll pay you 350 page to draw the Thor, beating up an ice troll. You don't get that, So they're like, is your book finished? Let's go to print, and then you owe us X. And if it's doing really well, obviously that's good for them, and they back the book more. I.e., you're going to see it around. And if it does super, super well, i.e., say like Invincible, you get to smart people, creators will migrate to obviously the Robert Kirkman avenue when you start owning an imprint, rather. So this is the Kirkman imprint, but we publish through Image. Chris Ryle has an imprint with Ashley Wood, Syzygy. They just did the most recent Joe Hill book, and they're doing Hitomi right now, which
so
is
good,
pretty exciting. book. My buddy Himkar Tak does that, screenwriter. It's good to see him doing well.
Our friends at Shortbox had a variant cover for Hitomi. So
there you go. You support good stuff. Himkar Tak is phenomenal writer, and I'm glad he's finally seen some success in the comic book medium. So anyways, there's think of these imprints then published through it, but Images, again, they're non-profit. They just take a cut off the top. Hey, this is what it costs. Doesn't matter if your book makes $1 or $1 billion. This is what they take. Depending on how. Yeah. So one of the downsides is when somebody like myself and Steve Ellis do Kickstarter, they're like, well, what do you need? Blah, blah, blah for. The reason we need money for is Image doesn't pay us, and we have mortgages, and drawing a comic book is hard enough, much less drawing a comic book while drawing for a paying job as well. So what this does is allows us to work more and more full time on it, the more money we get.
Yeah, of course.
And I want to stress that we're not greedy or trying to push people all the way. Image doesn't pay for anything. We just have to show up with a finished book. And obviously they'll have some oversight, so there's nothing grotesque in it. But however, they're pretty hands off. They're pretty amazing that way. They just let creators sink or swim. And if you're doing really well, they'll definitely get behind you more and show that level of support. But you got to earn that, and you got to kick ass. And when you make money for people, they tend to want to talk to you more.
That makes sense. Because that's a debate I've been seeing on TikTok lately, is one where they're talking about Image isn't indie, and I'm like,
it's as indie as it gets.
I was gonna say, I mean, I knew everything Image put out was creator owned, but I didn't know that whole structure system like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's really cool.
It's a brilliant thing that they built at Image. It can suck for a new creator that can't get any traction. It can be much easier if you're a creator with a profound fan base. I'm just this jerk in between those two things, and we just need a few shekels so we can pay our bills. And in doing so, we're trying to reward people above and beyond the call of duty. You're not just paying for one issue. You're paying for 100 pages comic book series at whatever level, and then the 13 books that you have right now, and probably more by the end. So I just want to stress that you're not.
Yeah.
I know it's easier for people that have already been published, but I've been around for 23 years. I've done 100 comic books. I've made unbelievable amounts of money in certain books for other people. This is me trying to actually make something where some other person who didn't even make the damn book gets 60%, 80% of the money. And we're not trying to be greedy. We're just trying to fund our damn book. And
get paid fairly for it.
Excuse me?
And get paid fairly for it.
There's no such thing as being paid fairly in comic books. We're basically slave labor. But I'd like to get the slave labor so I can eat and my dogs can eat.
Yeah.
And I can pay my letterer and not just give them my leftover Hellboy pages if I even have any left. Those were like currency, like gold bullion I could give people if I needed something done. So we're doing everything we can make this happen. And I hope people give us a chance, because we're not trying to. There are people that cash in and don't deliver on books and blah, blah, blah. You can look at our legacy. That's not our issue. Neither is poor art or poor storytelling or anything like that. We're going to deliver the highest possible caliber comic book. You have my absolute word. Absolute. I promise. You're not even going to want. If you're another creator, you're not going to want your book next to ours. It's going to be that damn good.
That's awesome.
It's going to be that good. It's your book will wither next to it. So take
I
a chance.
love it.
And please, people, understand. Image is indie. It's the monolith of indie. It's not like a publishing house. When I worked at IDW, I got a page rate and things like that. But when you own your own book, there have been times where I've gotten a stipend, i.e. Outer Orbit with Sean Murphy. We got $3,500 an issue, which isn't enough to make an issue, but it's enough to kind of everybody's got a little bit of cash. Yeah. Occasionally you get stipends like that. Image doesn't give you jack shit. So, and rightfully so, because they don't take anything either.
Right.
They just pay their bills.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. You know, there's no hidden anything. There's no anything when Wild Blue Yonder becomes super popular and the movie people come and there's no weird back deals in the background that you're unaware of and vampires reaching in and sucking blood. None of that. It's just, hey, if you're ready to roll, come publish through our house if we, you know, respect your book enough and want to publish it. And we're in that position, and now we're just trying to get enough funding. So, you know, I don't need a new car. I just need to pay my mortgage for about six months, and we got this sucker wrapped.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go, man.
That's awesome, man. Well, I've got your Instagram down here. Everybody make sure you go follow Zach on Instagram. He's also on Twitter. He's very hard to find on some
No, I'm not on Twitter.
Oh, you're not on Twitter?
No, I'm just IG, and unfortunately I'm popular on Facebook. So
well, there you go. IG and Facebook. Go follow Zach Howard, and you'll get to keep up with everything Moonshine Bigfoot.
Go to Kickstarter. Just look at the word Moonshine Bigfoot. Pop that in, or those two words, and you'll get to the campaign. All my social, there's links. I'm sure you guys have stuff. There's the link right there.
There it is again, yeah. That's awesome.
You know, just at least watch that trailer. I think we got you, most of you. If you'll just, that kind of shows you what we're bringing to the table. We're not here to fool around. We're here to be number one. And,
it looks like a blast. It looks like an absolute blast.
100%, man. And if you guys missed the trailer at the beginning of this interview, we'll go ahead and close out with it.
Roll it again.
We'll roll it again as we're signing out. So my name is Jeremy. I'm joined by Michael on my well, I guess it would be my right on here, but it's on my left on my screen. But and then we've got our very, very, very awesome guest, Zach Howard, down there at the bottom of your screen. Go follow him everywhere you can find him. Once again, everybody, be safe, be kind, take it easy, and watch this trailer one more time.
I bet you've heard a lot of tales about Bigfoot. Well, now it's time to set the record straight. Because we do things a little different here in Buzzard County. In this here story, the heroes are outlaws with hearts of gold and tanks of gas. These fellas might seem reputable, but they're bona fide retrobates. Sheriff's crooked as a dog's leg. Walter ain't bad. And the rest of these folks, well, hell, they're as weird as they come. Moonshine Bigfoot, the greatest cryptozoological action-adventure comedy of all time.